right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen. It is great to have you here with us today. I'm joined again for this second Evernote and goal tracking video by my beautiful and lovely mom.
Hey, everyone.
This is Diane, and I'm so glad that she is back. We had a great conversation last time, and in this episode, we're going to share with you a little bit more about how mom is using Evernote. She's really been embracing it, and so I'm excited to see how she's been using Evernote to track her weekly goals. So I thought, if you don't mind, Mom, I think we'll just dive right in and have you show us what you've been doing. While you're getting that set up, for anyone who might be new, this is sort of a second video in our series. In the first video, I showed a little bit more about how I do my weekly, monthly tracking using the Evernote app, but you could certainly use any other app and you can do any of what we're talking about on paper. So this is just one approach for kind of keeping track of things. So tell us how your week 6 is organized and what's working for you.
So I only had, in the last month I only had 2 weeks. So now I'm trying to, this will be the good indicator of how I'm doing.
Yeah, because February will be your first full month.
Right. So I don't know how to add clearly because my 3 main goals, I have 5.
You know, it's better than 20, so there's that.
So, I don't follow, the very first thing is I don't follow directions.
It's a good thing you don't completely do your own accounting.
Right.
Could be a barrier.
Which I did do this week, my own accounting.
Excellent.
That was part of my, it does go to Rick, who does a very good job.
He'll be double checked before the IRS sees anything.
Exactly. But I broke it down into those things at the top, and then other things that I'd like to accomplish. I had a friend pass away this week, and that was really sad, and it hit me very hard. And I wanted to do some things. Trish and I wanted to do some things together, and we haven't been able to really accomplish all of that. But so I added it into my list of things that I would like to get done. And if it doesn't get done this week, there's really not a time frame on those, so I can just add it to the next one. And when I did, and I did the billing, like I had put on for January, was to do the quarterly billing for last quarter.
Okay.
And I did it, but I didn't make a PDF of Nancy's sales. Okay. So I still haven't done that, but that's something that I need to do. And then the other things were like getting my house back together and, those sewing and different things there. But I also, down below here, what I added to it was numbers. So on my list of drafts in eBay, I added numbers, and then at the end of the week, I'm going to tally those numbers and put them on my monthly sheet.
Awesome. Can I ask you 2 questions here? So sure. Say your Monday or your Tuesday list, is that a list you're making at the beginning of the day of what you want to get done for that day? Or you're writing this in sort of at the end of the day that those are the things that you did?
No, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
So every week, every Monday, every day, this is what I want to do. So Monday, 2 items in draft and 2 items go live. And on Tuesday, I wanted to send offers to buyers, which I could do sitting at having coffee. I do it on my phone. So I'm not going to do that every day. I thought I was going to do that every day, but there's only like 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 daily. I'd rather just sit down and do 30.
Right. So every other day it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Rhythm for you. Okay. So you're coming in here and making this list at the beginning of the day, and then at the end of the day or throughout the day, you're coming back and saying how many you did.
Right. And so the other thing that I changed, if so in February, I put relist Craigslist stuff, which is on Wednesday now down here.
You mean in January?
In January. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't do it at all. And
you were
so,
wanting to do that every day or every week?
yeah, I just put every day do,
Okay.
and I'm like, well, that's not working. So I broke it down to like 2 or 3 days a week.
Okay.
So, and then I'm gonna tally that up because I don't make as much money doing stuff on Craigslist anyways, so it's not worth spending a lot of time on it. So,
Yeah, that
but
makes sense.
I do want the things out there because I do get sales from it, but
It's
so
great. It's good to adjust as you go. Sometimes it seems like a good idea and then you start realizing it's not worth the time and effort that it takes to do it every day. So,
right. And so then other things pop up. So like 2 days in a row, I was not able to use my listing ink frog, which I use to list my items. And so I just wrote a note. Why did I have a 0 then? So I'm not going to do it in my monthly total, but I can go back and say, oh, well,
I didn't just skip it.
right. It
Yeah.
just wasn't working. And I don't list directly in eBay, so I don't feel like I need to change it.
No.
And then I put other things in there. So my friend Trish came and we made, I took a big step with my fearless word, and I invited Trish to come to our house, and we ordered dinner from Adria's, which is the place where we usually have our meetup.
Nice.
So we supported him, and then she got it. She went and picked it up and came, and we ate dinner socially distanced.
Great.
And then we're making Disney ears out of Vera Bradley bags. There will be a video at some point of that, so we can, so people can see it. But so that was really fun, and it was really nice to have some type of normal activity back in my life. So
that's awesome, Mom. That's great.
And I put my family room back together because she was coming. So see, killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Living room was on my goal too, but that didn't get done.
Family room is good enough.
Yeah.
That's great. So you're finding that this is working for you, it sounds like. We've had other conversations, obviously. And then your to-done list. Look at that.
And the other thing that I did different from you is those things, you make different sheets for different things. Mm-hmm. But what I did was some of these things were at the top of my sheet this week, like buy a coffee pot, order a Galaxy watch, make a project list. So I just cut them out of there and put them down into done. And then instead of leaving it up the top, putting it on another spot.
So I do that too. Sometimes in the short term, if I have a bulleted list up top, I'll just check it off so that I know that it's done if I don't have time to move it yet. Yeah. But this is cleaner, and this is how I like mine to look by the end of the week.
Yeah, so I just cut it out and put it down the bottom.
Awesome. Do you add things to this that weren't on your original to-do list for the week?
Yeah, I need to add more. So I use paper as well, and like you do, but my paper was all over the place, like a million different notebooks and things. So last year I had bought these.
Hey, Mom, why don't we stop sharing now that you're done showing us your Evernote so that we can see your notebooks? Because I'd love to see what you still do on paper, because that's what I showed in the last video too. I do sort of my more futuristic planning in Evernote, and then some of my day-to-day stuff lives in paper. So I'd like to see sort of what you still do on paper.
Yeah, well, so I had a bunch of, just the regular school notebooks.
Yeah.
So I just put eBay ideas on it, in progress.
Okay.
And these I can just look at a glance to see what I need to do. So that's like, I fixed 2 listings and I wanted, so I write on it like the item number, and then I can go in tonight and list those into drafts.
Okay.
So that's where I would know that I did that, and then I can just throw that paper away. I'm not
Right.
saving that.
Yeah.
But these books, the ones that they're called the Happy Planner Big Ideas.
Mhm.
So I bought last year a calendar and like the planner paper one.
Okay.
So I took them all apart and I sorted into, I'm splitting out to personal and business. So personal, and this one I put, we're making the cushions for Jeff's kitchen.
Yeah, which
So
you can see on the vlog we did last weekend.
right. So there's the how you measure for the material is in here, all my notes, like in what I needed to buy for birthday presents or whatever. So I'll just put that in this one. And that way they're not going to get mixed up. So I just started sorting it. I haven't fixed them, but this one's going to be for eBay.
Yeah.
And the other one's going to be for, oh, cha-ching.
Woo.
We sold something. So that's what I started to do with that. But
yeah, and you've kind of been doing that for a while, at least with some of your personal stuff, because when I was at your house last weekend and we were doing the cushions, you said, "Oh, I know I have all this stuff in this notebook," and like you knew where to go to find it. And I think that's the key. Like whether you have one notebook for work and one notebook for personal, or one notebook for like household and one notebook for crafting, or whatever it is. I think as long as you know the basic categories you're working with and you know how to find the thing, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think having it all mixed, I think when you start something, you just put everything together.
Yeah.
So then now I'm just going to try to, and this might not be it, and I may never do them separate because they may all end up in this one. So, in the 69-cent paper, whatever. So you don't have to have something, but sometimes having something pretty, oops, I don't know what I'm showing you, but sometimes having something pretty is nice. It makes you want to write it.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, and some of the notebooks I use are pretty plain too. I don't have one handy. Like, they might have flowers or something on the front, but they're nothing fancy inside. But it still makes me want to look at it and hold it and put something in it. So,
and you asked me a question. Oh, sorry. You asked me a question about do I put other things in that are not written down? And I got off track by telling you about my pretty books.
Yes.
But I organized a whole gift wrapping section in the basement, and it came out really nice. And so I should add that into my thing that I did. And so I'm sure there's other things as I go on that I could add in.
That's great. And I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like I don't track every single thing I do all week, but like some of the highlights, it's nice, especially like you've started now doing a monthly review like I've been doing. And so it is nice to look back at the end of, at the end of the month at each of your weeks to say, oh yeah, I did do that. Like that wrapping station thing, it looks beautiful. I'm sure it was a decent amount of effort. It was a lot of time. So, and you might forget it by the end of the month. So kind of having some of those bigger things in there is, I think it's nice to look back and give yourself a little pat on the back.
Right.
Very cool.
I think, the other thing too is I think sometimes this seems overwhelming to do, and I was saying to you that, at the beginning of the year, you put all these expectations on yourself. It's January 1st. I need to lose weight. I need to exercise. I need to organize every aspect of my life because I'm putting away my Christmas stuff and getting out the other things. And then you do so much that you leave everything either half done or not done at all and you quit.
Yeah.
So I think maybe for the listeners, if you're starting this in the end of February or the beginning of March, that could be the ideal time for you, So I would
Yeah.
say, even though I started the second week in January,
Yep.
I think you have to just start. It's always going to be messy.
Yep.
But once you work out the kinks, and I'm not going to do it exactly the way Jen does because
No.
my brain doesn't work like that. But I don't think there's ever a good time,
Yeah,
to
I agree with you. And ideally, like, we're all always evolving, right? Like, I've told you and I've told the viewers, like, my system has changed over the years and my life has changed over the years. I'm now working from home, like, circumstances change. So we have to kind of just keep changing and adjusting with it. But you're right. There's probably no great time to start, but if folks are just watching this now or even in a few weeks, there's absolutely nothing magical about January, and there's nothing wrong with starting in March or April or June or whenever you're doing it. I was saying to you when we were talking about this earlier too, like, if you have different religious holidays, December might not be a busy time for you. Or if you're living in the Southern Hemisphere, the weather might make this time of year feel different, very different for you. So, like, there's no magic to it. Like, just pick a time and start, and know that it's never going to be ideal, and just keep going.
right. And don't beat yourself up that you haven't done it before. Like, I haven't everybody's done it, right? Like, you've done some type of organization, you've paid bills, you've, gone to the bank, you've done any type of you've paid your taxes. So you have some types of systems in place. So just work on that system and tweak it.
Absolutely. I love that. Very cool. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. One thing that I also thought we'd talk about today is you've said on the channel before, and I think on the podcast and other things, about how you're always amazed that if I ask you something, I can just pull it up, right?
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
so I thought I would show some folks how I do that. And again, a lot of that is Evernote. And so let's flip on over and show folks a little bit more into my Evernote. And a lot of where I store the things that mom might ask me about, and then I'll say, I've got that, is down here in my reference section. Can you see that, Mom? Can you see my
Yes.
over on the left here?
Yes.
So I have a stack of notebooks called Reference, and you can see for the last couple of years, some of the notebooks that I use actively during the year, like the ones I now have for 2021, all of my projects in my journal for that year go into Reference at the end of the year. But then below that, there's some just kind of more basic categories. So I have, knitting and crochet patterns. So I have some design reference that I like to keep there, some things for the podcast, old journals beyond the last couple of years where I wasn't doing it in Evernote very much, knitting and crochet. So I have, let's see, it's being a little slow. If I measured mom for her sweater, or I made edits to a pattern, or I make these little ninjas for my nephew Garrett and I made up the pattern, I might just write those details in here because I want to make sure that I always have access to them. It's great to put them on a website like Ravelry or something, but then your information is in their hands. If they ever close up shop, I don't have any of that. So I don't save everything in Evernote, but certain things I like to have accessible to me. But I think the key with this is that while there are some, I do have quite a few categories here. Some of these are old knit alongs and things like that. The vast majority of my stuff that goes into Reference goes into knitting or crochet, because that's a lot of what I do, or personal. And I don't have different buckets under personal for recipes or decorating ideas or all those different things. They all just go under personal. And then often I don't even specifically come to reference personal and then start scrolling to find the thing. I use the search. So clearly I recently searched for banana ice cream recipe. That's under personal, and I do have a tag for recipe, but the search engines are pretty good. So while it's good to have some basic organization, you don't have to go crazy with that. And then I can easily find things that I might need to access time after time. Or if mom says, "Do you have that recipe from Gail for those muffins?" I can search it, or I can just come into here and easily find it.
That's great.
So
Oh,
one way that you can get things in here is, obviously, if you're on your computer like I am now and you're on a website, you can copy the URL and just come in and make a new note and save it under reference. And then you can click up here for more actions and go ahead and edit the tags. I already have a tag on this one for recipe, but if you want to do tags, if that's a helpful system for you, honestly, I only really use the tags for recipes, I think vacation, retirement, and my grandmother. Those are the tags I actively use. Some of the things on here have tags that have been in here for 10 years. But you could certainly just save a link from a website and put it right in here. But what I was saying to mom earlier is that I often save things from my phone, and I thought that might be a useful thing to share with you. Do you have any questions, Mom, before I stop showing my screen here?
no, that's good.
Okay. So we had a question from my friend Susie White on YouTube asking how I save photos into Evernote, because that can be really handy if someone sent you something, or say maybe you found like a recipe on Instagram but you don't have like a website link for it. It's just all the details you need are in that photo. There's a really easy way to do that. If you go to your photos in your phone, and I'm just going to show you, let's see, a picture of a book I was reading. Say someone sent this to me and said, "You should really read this book." And I wanted the name, the author, all of that. Can you see that, Mom?
I can.
And so I'm using an iPhone. It might be different if you have an Android, but it shouldn't be terribly different. Usually there's common symbols, and this here at the bottom is like a little rectangle with an arrow pointing up. If you click on that, it should give you an option of where you want to send that to. I'm just going to scroll through until I see Evernote. And then if I click on that, it will give you options. You can go ahead and categorize it right away. It's going to be hard to see here. But basically, you can just go ahead and click save and then go into the Evernote app and move it around where you want it.
That's really easy.
It's really easy. So you just find the photo in your album, click the share button, and then find the Evernote app and click save. And then I would say do your edits and adding other things. So if I wanted to say, Kim recommended this book, I would probably do that in Evernote, not right there, but it gives you the option. The other thing that can be really handy is, say you're browsing the internet or you're on Pinterest and you end up on some website. So those are those superhero muffins that I really like to make. When Gail sent me the link for these, I did the same thing. I clicked on that little arrow button on the bottom. I went through until I found Evernote and I saved it in Evernote. Now, the advantage of doing this from a mobile device versus just finding the URL on your computer and adding the URL, the advantage here is that when I go ahead and do this and I save this link to my Evernote app, and I'll just press save on the top there, which I don't think you can see, what it will do is it will actually save both the link to the website, which is important if you want to go back and look at the recipe, but it will also save all of the content that's on that page. So if on the page there's a little tutorial and there's some pictures, and then there's the ingredients and then the instructions for the recipe, all of that is in your note in Evernote, which may or may not be helpful, but when it can be helpful is if that website goes down or they stop paying for it or whatever it is, and you can't get it anymore, you have the whole thing right there. So you can edit it or delete it, but
you have that saved to your Evernote right now. Did that just save there?
I didn't save that one, but I can show you what it looks like. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would be nice to see what happened to it once you did that.
Sure. So let me see if this one I didn't. Well, I did save the superhero muffin. You can see that it shows you the website at the top. Can you see that?
Yes.
And then it has the ingredients and the instructions. I edited that one down, which is something that you are able to do. Let me go ahead and pull up. Remember, I was just telling you I recently looked up the recipe for the banana ice cream. And so if you look here, again, you can see the web page at the top. And then some of it looks a little bit funky. Probably there was a picture there that didn't translate properly. But this basically gives you the whole blog post about how to make the ice cream, what the custard should look like before you finish it. And then at the bottom is the actual recipe. And so all of that is there. So if this website is no longer in 10 years, I still have all of the details.
Wow, that's really cool.
Isn't
And
that
you
cool?
didn't have to type it.
Exactly.
And then you could put a tag there, banana ice cream or whatever, if you knew that you always make ice cream and you only do. Oh, would
Yeah.
it come up anyway?
So the thing is, when I search for banana ice cream, it comes up. I do have it tagged as a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
So probably those are the two ways that I would do it. I would search for banana ice cream or look for the tag and then scroll. But it's pretty handy, and it's actually really easy.
Yeah, that's really cool. But did you say it doesn't do that from your computer?
That's correct. So I think if you get an extension for your browser, you can do it in the same way. I don't have that installed on Safari on my Mac, but I think with extensions you can do it. It's kind of sort of a next level thing. Not everyone's comfortable playing with those. If you just go to the top of the website and copy the URL, paste the URL into Evernote, it doesn't give you the whole detail of the web page.
Okay.
So,
well, that's good to know.
Yeah. All right. We had one other comment from our last video from my cousin Jamie. So I wanted to go ahead. Let me just pull this back up. And I thought this was a great one. So I wanted to make sure that we share it. And she was talking about make sure to build in self-care through all of this. So let me just bring it up so I can read it to you exactly. She said, because we were asking for other tips or suggestions, how other people sort of make their to-do lists and follow up on things. She says, the only tip I have is that I make a point of scheduling in a bunch of good mental health things as well, as that's where I struggle. Little things done every day make a big difference, and self-care is the first to go when things get busy for most people, I assume, but definitely for me. Looking forward to the next video. So thank you, Jamie, for watching and for that comment. I think it's a really good point, and I don't think it's everyone's first instinct to put on the to-do list, take a bath or do a meditation or just spend 5 minutes in silence away from my kids or whatever it takes to really kind of help recharge you for the day. What I feel like you had thoughts on this too, Mom, so I wanted to hear what your reaction was to this.
Well,
Is it something that you do? But do you put those things on the list?
Is there something that I do?
No, do you put sort of self-care or mental health care, things like that on? Do you include those in your list?
No, so I didn't, right? So, but I just made a medical list to try to keep track of things. My health hasn't been the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to find more ways to not think about what's wrong with me and think about other things.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just take those things that have happened and write it on this list and then don't look at it and try to work on, being happy doing other things. And this year, like for everyone else, not just me, has been the most challenging this past year of anybody's year in their whole life.
Right.
And I don't care who you are or what age you are.
Or how COVID specifically affected you, but it's just, it's been a
lot. And everything's a lot of stress. So I think when Jamie, and she also, do you know what her word was? Because she did a word as well.
She was talking about last year, her word, it wasn't fearless, but it was about sort of pushing herself. I didn't write that
I can't
comment down,
remember what
sorry.
her, but she said her goal was to go out and be fearless and try things that she hadn't done before and be okay with it.
Yeah.
And so I think my fearless word is what's going to help me to be happier.
Yeah. And that's
So
what I was going to say. I think that like you did like make a plan to meet up with your friend last week. Like that was socialization time and time for you to connect with people. And I do think that is a way that you recharge. And so I would count that on there, you know, and I think that your word of the year of fearless prompts you to do those things. And
right.
you're like me, you're kind of type A, and you'd be just as happy to just work all day till you can't possibly work anymore, and then crash on the couch and watch something at night and maybe do a little bit of work then too, right? So you are still finding ways to build that in, I think. But
Yeah.
probably like all of us, you could probably do a little more, and so could I, you know?
No, but I think on the monthly review, I think we should put down something like that. What things did you do to take care
Yeah.
of you?
Yeah, I like that. And what do you want to think about doing for the next month, right? To kind of
Yeah,
start you thinking about where you want to go.
right.
Yeah, I like
So, and I got a smartwatch I ordered, so it's coming. It's not there. See it? It's not.
that.
Um,
It's gonna be beautiful.
it's going to be great. So maybe that will prompt me to do other things as well. So
That's awesome. Well, this has been really fun as always. Thanks, Mom, and thank you for being open to sharing your system and how everything is going. As we said last time, we would love to hear if this is helpful, if you have questions for us, how you're planning and tracking and doing all of those things. If you have other ideas or suggestions or things you think we should try out, please do comment down below so that we can take in your feedback. And if there's enough interest, we'll do another video. And if not, that's fine too. We're just sharing in case it's useful.
and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to Jen's channel. She needs 20 more people to get to 1,000, and you could be that number 1,000.
Yes. Lucky 1000. I know you're out there. And if you found this helpful, this video or the last video, definitely feel free to share with a friend. All right. Well, thank you again, Mom, for joining us. I will put links down below to some of the things that we've talked about and also to our social media presence. Your Creations Unlimited and Boston Jen's Mom on Instagram. And I'm Boston Jen 1 on Instagram. So we would love it if you came over and followed us over there. And since I know I'll get questions, I'm wearing my Tan House Brook shawl. This is one of the patterns that I designed. So if you're wondering what I'm wearing, I will put a link for that below as well. And Mom was wearing a beautiful knit piece. That was the first shawl that I actually ever knit, Mom. It's not my design. I had never knit with fingering weight yarn, which is a thinner yarn. And I had never knit a shawl. And in typical Boston Jen's Mom fashion, you got the wrong side.
Of course.
It's by Elizabeth Doherty. I know that much. I think it's something like Ebb
How could you tell it was the wrong side? I can't even tell being with it.
No, I have a sense for it. Yeah, it's really pretty, kind of feather and fan, and at the bottom it has what looks like kind of like sand dollars. It was a fun one to knit. But that's very Boston Jen's Mom blue.
Yeah,
we need to find someone to make a colorway. Boston
wear
Jen's
it this
Mom
way
blue.
too.
Yeah. It looks good on you.
Oh.
Well, there's our little bit of knitting content for the episode. This is mostly a crafty channel, but we geek out over productivity too, and I know a lot of you guys do too. So thank you again for watching, Mom. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.